terms of this new team that the DFE have created in terms of exit, and you have said it's been a tough, turbulent time for the sector, for independent training providers, for colleges. I mean, you touched on it right at the beginning. Colleges have not had it easy as well. So people talk about independent training providers, but colleges have had it tough. There has been a fair amount of mergers within the sector, and a lot of college names that maybe 10 years ago that we used to sort of love and remember and talk about. They're all gone, and you've got new super colleges now, and you've got super institutions and so forth, and then again you've said the larger an organisation goes, sometimes they lose touch with some of what made them great and what distinguished them. And then this sector, the year that we've just gone through, the changes and very quick sort of turbulent changes in terms of traineeships, in terms of the AEB, some of the other stuff that's gone out there, creates a fairly volatile environment. And then when you're there, building supply chain, you're looking and planning consistency. You've got a long-term plan that you're working towards, and with the resources. And I know you touched on it. Sometimes maybe a small team, but with the resources, the brand that you've got, you're seeing that. What would you say? What advice would you give to government, DFE, or what advice would you give to people who potentially are looking at this skills and employability sector? It's so important for us all to get it right. And what thoughts do you have in terms of why are we in this place that we're in? So there's a lot there. Sorry.
So advice for DFE and the powers that be is stop tinkering. I think there's a lot of rumours and rumblings this week about their plans in terms of potentially Treasury want to stop funding for the level 7 senior leader. They're potentially talking about putting age limits in for degree apprenticeships and additional barriers. We don't need any more barriers. The system is difficult enough as it is to navigate. I think the NHS are lucky that they've got NHS England helping them kind of navigate the technical education landscape, because it is very complicated. It's not straightforward, and I think on the whole the levy has been a positive thing for us, and yes, there's been a decline in the number of apprenticeships for young people, and I think that is a challenge, but I think there's also a direct correlation between the lack of entry level apprenticeship standards that maybe they could look at. But the announcement around the new A-level qualification and the removal of we don't need all of that. If you're a parent, are you going to be putting your child onto a T-level now, knowing that they're going to be potentially going in the next 10 years? It's just we don't need the confusion. We want it simplified. In the NHS, we do work predominantly with independent training providers because we have found that they are a lot more flexible. I do think colleges on the whole, and my background is colleges, they are missing a trick because often the NHS would be the biggest employer in whatever region that they're in, but they don't have that same flexibility that ITPs offer. And also, I just think they do have their own challenges, and we know kind of recruiting staff, retaining staff in either is a massive challenge. But ITPs, I think it's a lot harder because they haven't got, the estates and the overheads and all of that infrastructure that colleges do. So, if they do lose a contract in an ITP, then that's, jobs straight away, isn't it? And I think that's something that government need to understand, that, people aren't in this to make huge amounts of money. People are in this to help better people's lives, and they need to make sure it's funded more, robustly, and that it's not such a precarious place to be.
Canny Conversation Podcast Series 5 by Safaraz Ali.